I just want to talk about this script here. This is part of a book I'm writing, and I just want to do a demonstration through here. So if we just run this script, it's basically opening up your workspace first thing in the morning. So we start this up. I'll use the Shift Alt and 3 one, so Shift Alt and 3. If we open this up, you can choose a particular file that you want. I'm just going to open up this file and look at this one. So this one, I've actually just put them as a subdirectory through here, just to use it as an example. And it's opening up an XLS file, so it's opening up an Excel spreadsheet, it's opening up a Word document, and it's opening up a text file, and then it's opening up a program. So you can point to all of these things. So when you come in the morning, you just run this, hit your keyboard and run this one once this program is started, and it runs. So let's just, so on that particular one there, I've just got to go and find the hotkey there. We can choose this program there, and it then opens up all of these things for us there away. And it opens up the crosshair one, which creates this crosshair that we can actually add through here. And I'm just going to turn it off again. So, it's sort of an idea where you can just fire up your workspaces as to when you start, and then you'd start work, and you could end up with a whole lot of different projects. So you could end up with specific files. Now if we just look at this directly, we'll actually see that this one here is an XLS one, and this one's a doc, and I'm actually calling up the actual file itself. I'm not suddenly saying go and open up Word and then open up this document. Now why can I do that? Well, the reason I can do that is inside Windows, if we just go into all settings through here and we type default, we'll see one called default apps, and what it says is that anytime what's your email one, I've got Thunderbirds, and you know, what's your web browser, and I've got Firefox, and through this you can go even further, which you can choose default applications by type. So if we just click on that and come down into here, we'll go down and search for text and see what actually happens there. So what we can say is if you see a .txt file, or you go and click on a .txt file in File Explorer, so let's just run all the way down to the bottom somewhere where we can get a text file. So where's text, tx, there we are. So text is started with Notepad. So as soon as I click a text file and I click it in File Explorer or something like that, or I try and activate a text file, it's going to open it up in Notepad, because it said that's our default app that we can choose. So we can actually change some of the default apps, and maybe we change it to Notepad++ or something like that. So that's how that's actually operating, that we can actually just say, tell us what the file is, and we can find association. Now this last one here doesn't have any files or anything associated with it. It actually just does, it's a script that's been compiled that just does crosshairs, and it has its uses for other things later on. So that's all great, and you can have several projects that you can actually run on those ones there. So while I was looking at this and doing it, I'd actually come across a specific problem of my own. Now, I'm exploring this program called Obsidian, which is a fantastic note-taking app. Now, what actually happens is that I'll actually be in File Explorer, or in my browser, and I suddenly see some information I actually want to grab, or a particular article that I actually want to be able to actually associate and put in as a note. Now, I can come up here and I suddenly think, oh, this is absolutely fantastic. So I can copy that, and I can actually take the name of the article through there and copy that. So I think I need to get my notepad back. And then I have to come down to the taskbar and try and find out where the thing is. Now I love hotkeys, because while I'm looking at the main screen, I can actually just pop up the next one as we go through. In this particular one, I can actually, and so I couldn't find a hotkey for it to actually initiate it on its own. And so I was looking at a way that I could just quickly activate it when I wanted. And I came across this program. In fact, came across this article here, which was done in 2016, about one called Workspaces, which is by Maestrith, who's the chap is Chad Wilson, and he's got one down here called Workspaces through here. So I'll put the link in the actual document when I'm actually writing in the book as I'm writing it. So you can download this, but I found it was a bit of a quirky little program. So let's just flick the program up here. And one of the things that you can do is that you can create your own workspace, and then you can actually say, I can fire up 3 or 4 things all at the same time, and you can quickly add windows to actually, or programs to actually add to a particular workspace, and align them if you wanted the windows done. And it has this really smart thing where you can, if you have multiple monitors, you can actually make sure that the other things open up on particular monitors. Like if you've got a work thing where you've got a whole lot of projects happening, and you've got a Word document on here, and you've got an Excel, or you've got a drawing or a modelling or a BIM thing, because I'm sort of designing sort of a person, you can actually pull all of those up and have them onto your other monitors. I actually just would like working on one monitor. But this is the thing. Now I started to test this as a help file, and that's the limit of its help file, which is not too much. And if we actually just look at the actual program itself, it's written very, very tight. It's very detailed, and if you can see down the side here, it's very long as well. And there's hardly any comments. So you've really got to work at it to figure out what's actually happening. So, but it's a very good program. It seems to fire off quite nicely. Now, I'm just going to pop into here. Now, where I'm running for at this point in time, I'm actually going to close this down. I've actually got it running, so I'm just going to close the window, and I'm just going to make sure that that's actually closed, and I'm going to exit that through there. Now, when you first run this, so the first time I ran this, I suddenly thought it's broken. I can't see how it actually works. So I've got it in one here called test, and I'm just going to delete that. Delete that subfolder, and what it does is it creates a subfolder. I'm not too sure why it actually creates a subfolder, but when I run the script in here, it runs and it pops up, and it starts off as a complete blank. So I can create a workspace in here, and I'm just going to call it Blurgle, and then I can add specific windows. Now I've only got Visual Studio Code up here, but if I actually open up a few more programs, and I have that one open up, and I open up Firefox, and I open up, let's just open up Explorer and just fire that all the way up. Now if I go back into that program again, now we're going to find out where it is. It's under hotkeys through there, that's the window is. Now if I go up there and add windows to selected, I've got all of those ones selected because they're full. Now normally in this script, it prefers all of these windows to be like this, then it can realize them. And when this other one, sometimes if you've adjusted something, you've got to refresh it and then add the windows. Now you see there's only 3 because this isn't maximized. Now normally this doesn't work in maximize, so I want to pick out these things here just so that you're aware of them, because as I said, the help file's not that great. So if we come into here, it's normally line 25, but because I put this comments through at the very top, it's pushed it down to about 31. And in the article that's on here, and you'll have links to all of these, right at the very end, this one was saying, oh, well, this only works if all of the apps are in this sort of location all over the place, then they'll actually work. But if you want them all maximize, which is how I prefer to have my programs, and if I don't want them maximized, I just drag one across and then select whatever else I want to do. So my preference is always to work from max. So if you want it in max, you've got to change this the modification of the original script. So I'd gone into the original script, and it's normally line 24 or 25, but it comes down to here, this is normally set to 0, and I've actually changed it to 1. So that means it's only reading, and when it does the lookup, it's only reading all the programs that are being maximized. If it's not maximized, like I had the Explorer, which isn't maximized through there, when I actually come through to the program and do the lookup, when I'm through to here, I'll close that down again, and we're going to add windows. You'll see it's not there. It's Thunderbird, Firefox, and Visual Studio Code. Now what I can do is I can actually say add selected, and now that's added to that particular program there. Now I can also add some more, so I can add another one. I'm going to add, what was that one? Visual Studio Code. I'm going to add Thunderbird tasks through there, and then I'm going to add another one, and I'm going to have Firefox through there, add selected. And then the other one that I'm going to do is that I'm just going to go and trigger that up to there and maximize that. Now if I just come back into the program through there again and go add window to selected, you'll find that I've got that one there. That's the one which is the Explorer. So I can add all of those ones through. Now if I actually wanted to come through here and re-edit that, so it's actually running that folder. So that's all that one there is doing. So we'll leave that as that one. But if I just wanted this one to be AutoHotKey on its own, if I click on that, I can select the item there, and then I try and edit it or do something, and I can't figure out how to edit it, and the note isn't very clear. But what you've got to do is you've just got to highlight it, then press enter, and then it pops up, and then we can actually just delete all of that other stuff, so it just becomes so that's how you do it. And when you come and try and edit this with your mouse, you're clicking on, nothing happens. It's a toggle, so you've actually just got to use the enter key to modify the toggles for it. So if you want everything to be maximized, and also if the program isn't open and it calls it, it will automatically open. Then we actually press that one to nut thing. Now the other one, so I can come into any of these and I can actually just edit them straight away. The other thing which I can do is that when I'm on the top of the newly created workspace, now unfortunately if you've got the wording wrong here, you can't edit it. But if you go enter, it will let you put a hotkey in. Now this first edit box here is actually a hotkey box. So it's an AutoHotKey hotkey box. So it allows you to do Control plus Shift plus Alt. And I'm now pressing on Windows, but it doesn't recognize Windows. It's going to go stroppy on me. So it allows you to do Control plus Shift plus Alt, and if we do Control Shift and Alt and Z, we can actually save that hotkey there. So we can save that, and now we can trigger that workspace, which will open up all of these particular folders all the way through, and even if they're closed, and we might close one of them, and it will just fire them all up straight away. I just want to come back here, and then we're just going to go on that top area there and go enter. Now instead of that, we can actually just go and put none, but we can actually put it, we can write it in our normal hotkey script of the hash, which means we're using the Windows key, Shift Out, we're using the Alt key, and the exclamation mark, which is the Alt. We're going to use the Control, which is the caret key, and we're going to use the plus, which is the Shift key. So we've got all of those keys, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm just going to put an X on the end. So that's one where we write in our own specific one, and I go save, and then this is a non-standard hotkey, use it, and we say yes. So we've got all of those ones now, and so we can have that we can have windows in there to actually allow those extra ones to actually happen. Now what will happen now? So if I just drop this down so it's still active, and then I just collapse everything and I just go to desktops, then I go Shift, Control, Alt and Windows and X, it will open up all of those things all together. And it's doing something weird at the end there, I'm not too sure what that is. So that's what it does. We can actually make these workspaces as well. So this was absolutely fantastic, because what I could actually do now was actually assign, I'd be working in Firefox or something, and I'd see an article that I actually want to do, and I could quickly use a hotkey and pull up Obsidian and be able to chuck the details in so that I got the link that I wanted. Now look what happens here. Because I'm running it from this point here, and I've got it here, and we've got all of that information into here. If I now close that, and I close the program down, and now I run the program again, Control Shift, Shift in there. So if I run that, it's all disappeared. So all of those settings that I'd actually created before, they've all gone. What actually happens at the very beginning of this program here, Control Shift up the top, is that it creates, at the very start of it, it creates this thing called a settings.xml. Now I'm working in a subdirectory here, but you see at the higher level, I've also got another instance of the program up there with the script, and you see there's a settings.xml that it writes all of those settings to each time. So when I'm down here, and this is what happens. If I actually download a script and I'm going to give it a try, I just run it in VS Code, and I just sit in debug mode to see what actually happens. So it won't run, and it won't create that settings file unless you actually run it from inside your Explorer. So you've actually got to click on it in here. So when you click on it in here, now watch what happens. We've got this, and it's actually created the library. So it created the subdirectory, but it didn't do anything. I don't think anything goes into there. We deleted it at that point in time. So now if I click on it, we're now running, and you see straight away it's created a settings XML file. So now if I created a workspace, and then I go into there and I add a window, and we just see whatever we got. We go add selected, and then we go add selected, and then we go add window, add selected. Sorry, I'm not that used to these. Add selected there. We've got all of those ones there. Now if I close this program down, and I close the program down, close that one there down, and that's it. AutoHotKey space. We're just going to go exit now. Now, sorry, if I just go into here and run it, you'll see it memorizes it. So it's created those, created the global settings. So it's created the settings file. So the first time you run this, you've got to run it from your Explorer. Sorry, that's not it, and that's not it. There's the one there. You've got to run it from the Explorer, then it'll create the settings XML file, and then it'll write to it. So that was the thing that completely mogadored me at the beginning, and I was very, very confused. Now the nice thing with this, if we just go and run that now, whoops, are we still running it? Yeah, we're still in hotkeys here. So when I run this, if I want to add another workspace, like it's the end of day and I'm sort of working on a whole lot of information, and I start thinking, oh, I'm going to shut this down, I'm going to come back tomorrow, I'm going to have to spend half an hour opening up all these things, you can actually just go into here, create one, new one through there. You can give it a hotkey that you want. So we're just going to, because we're on the top level, we can go enter and go Control-Shift-Z. And leave it at that and save the hotkey through there, and then we can just add a whole load of windows to it. So this is a really quick way of being able to have a whole lot of settings that you can actually, and it'll go to a specific program that you want. So if you've actually got a Word document open and it's a specific document, it's just remembered all of those things. So just think of the amount of time that you can actually save. Now the other one that you got, so that was the one from yesterday, sorry, in the morning, you'd done it the day before yesterday, and then this is the one that you had, and you say, I don't need that one anymore. You just type delete, and it goes away. So it gets rid of that one straight away. So there's a little button down here which says update program. And all that's doing is it just goes back to the GitHub and just sees if there's a later version than the one we actually have up here. So that's all it's doing there. Now the other one that it's got is it's got an interesting thing with the monitor, is that if we end up saying, so what's this? This one here is the Maestrith. So let's just go into Firefox, and we're going to move, and we're going to dock Firefox over here. If we come back to, where are we? Where are we? We've got to come back and find him there. If we come into here, we can actually update open Windows position. You'll find that that position has now happened. It's moved that there. So if I collapse everything down to desktop again, and I can't remember what the hotkey, I think it was Control-Shift-Z, you'll find when it's opened up all of those programs, that is now opened up in that setting. So even if I had that on full setting, and then I drop that to the desktop, and then I go Control-Shift-Z, you'll find that it's set it up to that, because we said remember that position for that particular item there as well. So it can be a really useful thing, because I've set, and just a little item on that, because I've set down here on the 31 that this is max, it'll only identify them when we first set it up, when they're maximized. If you want to set it up so that they're not done, then you'd do that. You'd set that back to 0, and then that you could actually have lots of windows all around the place, which I don't like. I like to be looking full on at one thing, or split into two screens if I'm doing a cut and paste or something like that. Now, I just want to talk about the taskbar down here. Now, I use I'll just poke it up here. I use a Stream Deck, and I find that's really good sometimes. I'm doing something on the screen and I can just punch up something that I actually want straight away. I don't use it that frequently, and one of the buttons on that front screen is Obsidian. So what I was actually doing before, Windows has got this thing. I've got a couple of features that are quite nice. First one is, depending on what icon is right at the beginning, as soon as you go Windows plus the number, so that's number 1, Windows 1 will bring that up. If I move the Firefox over there and I go Windows 1, it just brings that one up. If I go, because I've now got Obsidian the number 2, if I go the Windows key and 2, oops, sorry, I've got a particular program that works that actually has that as the trigger key. If I go Windows and 2, it opens that one. But that's really handy to do. The only thing is I shuffle a lot of my icons around. When I'm working with 2 programs that I'm using quite frequently together, especially in cutting and pasting, if I haven't split the screens, I haven't got that many, so I haven't got to split the screens into 2 and docking them onto 2 sides. I actually keep them together so that I can quickly toggle between them, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So I've just got my finger resting on the Windows key and I can actually just bounce between them as quickly as I want. So I find that's really convenient, but I constantly drag other programs up to the front here so that I can do that when I'm switching between 2 programs very, very quickly. Then I move them all around again, so they're never all in the same place. So I'd actually assigned on my Stream Deck Windows plus 2 for Obsidian, but if I then move it to somebody else, it's going to somewhere else because I'm doing some other programs, and I didn't put it back in the right place. I suddenly starts getting messy. So this particular program allows me to do, so if I just close down that one there, which is the test one we were doing, and I go onto the one that I've got a whole load of preset ones, just with things like my Obsidian for my email. And I was actually having problems getting up my Thunderbird all the time to get up my emails. And I've got one for fast sync. So I've got certain programs that I use all the time. So I can actually just assign them hotkeys, and I've got another set of obscure hotkeys. But this is really good for just jumping in. Plus, I can also make, I think there's one of the help ones, I think it's, you can actually collapse everything. There's this, in this setting ones, you can hide or show the GUI, and that one I think is Control-Alt-V. And it hides, so I can actually pop up that GUI whenever I want to possibly add another one on of remembering a workspace that I want to come back to the next day, that I can actually say, or I'm going out for a meeting or something and I come back and I'm suddenly thinking I've shut down my computer. And you're suddenly thinking, well, why would you shut down your computer? As you're actually using up your resources, you're opening up things like that, it pulls some RAM, and then it doesn't release all of the RAM. So by the end of the day, you'll notice if you use a lot of resource consuming programs like a modeling program or a big graphics program or something like that, or it's chewing up a lot of things in a database or something, or doing a lot of calculations of things, you'll find your computer slows down by the end of the day because a lot of the RAM is not returned to the original. So a good reboot once a day or every couple of days is useful to do. So this is just something on Workspaces. And this is the one where I was running it in the morning. So one of the things that I was doing was I was suddenly saying, I've got a preset, so when I come in, I can actually just go Control-Alt-3, select the project that I was working on, and it fires that up. But I've got this really nice program. So what we can do is somebody's actually built a really good program, so I can actually just use it as well. So if I just unset those ones, what happens here is I'm just including that program as well. Now, because this one looks at, if I just run that the AutoHotKey program on its own, it's going to go and look for that one. But it also needs its workspace, so I'm actually getting the subdirectory and making that the working directory. So I ended up having to put where this file is, where this one's running from, which is in a completely different folder. So this was just an example to show that you can actually, because there's a tool that already happens, you can actually have this one here. So when I run this program, where are we? So we're just going to run this program now. It starts this up for me so it's ready to go. And then I can actually come in the morning and go Shift plus Alt plus 3, and it'll go through, and I can choose the particular project that I'm working on, and it can actually run those. So this means I can actually integrate their one in with what I'm actually doing as a tool to experiment to see what's really effective for me, and try them all out. And then when I've tried them all out, I can actually say, well, how do I want to write my script, or is this the way that I actually want to keep it? So you can integrate other people's really smart stuff, and this is just an example of hooking into somebody else's ideas. There's no point in rewriting it all until you're clear on what you actually want your thing to do. This one does two very, very good jobs. It allows us to actually have presets that we can have, so we've got standard programs that we're pulling up all the time. One last thing I actually want to pull up as far as programs go is that another way that you can do this, so when you wake up in the morning, or when you start your computer in the morning, when I start my computer in the morning, it loads up nearly all of these things here for me, not the OBS, but a lot of the other ones. So if you go Control Alt Del, hopefully we can see this, you will see what's running. So you can see in the startup, if you go into the process, and if we go to options, minimize, is it minimize? File. There's one at view, collapse all. Oh no, that's not it. There's one of these when you come into your taskbar, it's very reduced, and then if you click on it, you can expand and get all of these extra details. So you've got processes and you've got your startups. Now what you can actually do in your startups is that you can actually come through here and disable them on your startup. But how do we get them to come into the startup first of all? So one of the things I just want to draw your attention to is if you come into this area here and just type RUN, run, and you click on here, if you type shell :startup, and if you run that, it opens up Explorer inside the Windows Start menu, Program Startup. So if you put shortcuts to all of the programs and all the hotkey files that you have here, as soon as you start it up again, don't put a shortcut through. Don't put your actual program in here. Put shortcuts through. So how do you do the shortcuts? Well, let's just go through and find one. So let's just say, let's just jump into something else. No, I want. So if we go into the auto, let's just go into here, and I want this workspace one to start up. I'm going to have this workspace one start up at the beginning. So what I can actually do is come down to here and create a shortcut. So I've created a shortcut to it, and now I just cut it from there and I put it into here. I've already got it up here, so I'm just going to delete these two. And if I go V to here, that means the next time this starts up with the computer, this program will start up automatically in the background. So we have that available to us. So it's a really good tool for workspaces, and it's flexible enough that you can actually adapt a lot of the things. So just firing up, to me, half the time is actually setting up the environment where I actually want a lot of the tools. But if you got them, you suddenly say, I'm going to go and do some modeling now, or I'm going to go and do some coding. If I'm going to do some coding, I want my browser up, I need certain sites, I need or maybe the AutoHotKey forum if I'm doing some stuff on there, or maybe I need my GitHub open because I need to go and do some stuff there, or maybe I need... So you can just open those things automatically as a group. Boom, that workspace is ready to go. You close it down, you then open another workspace because you're working with some other things as well. Or you can fire up two workspaces and have lots of things working. And then you can switch between the programs as you go through. I think there's a toggle through there. So I hope you found that interesting. It is a useful tool. I will put links inside the book for these ones, or if it's a YouTube video that I'm actually putting general, I'll put the links through to those ones there. As I said, I had trouble. I watched there in this one here, there is a video here. But it was like, it's all working to begin with, and yet when I started it, it wasn't working, and it was very frustrating. So I actually had to spend quite a lot of time to figure that out, and I don't really want you to in that situation. And it looks like a fantastic tool. So as I said, this was in 2016 when this was done. This is in 2020 when it was actually updated. I'm actually finding this is a useful tool now for me because it works the way that I work. I can actually just assign my own hotkeys to these things and modify them if I need to very, very quickly. So thank you very much for watching.